Teams, this is, I think, really an interesting, um, sort of area to take a look at, and how, remote work has changed working with teams, and also the implications for onboarding into a team. And by the way, there's two very different scenarios here, right? And often people are experiencing both at the same time, right? One is becoming a new member of a team, and the other is becoming a new leader of a team, right? And often you're doing both, right? You're taking over as leader of a team, but you're also joining as a member of another team or multiple teams. And so the premium here is really on rapidly connecting you with the people and the work of the team, right? And we know, I've done some research recently, published an article in Harvard Business Review about this. There are real limitations to what you can do in the virtual environment with teams. It's pretty good for coordination. It's pretty good for information sharing, right? It's pretty good at those things, right? But when it comes to really deep collaboration, innovation, building a shared culture, right? We're still not able to do in the virtual environment what we can do face to face. But I think it has big implications for how we'll operate after we get through this particular crisis. But there are clearly really important things you can do to help integrate new team members and new leaders into teams, right? And so before the crisis, we had processes that we use called new leader assimilation processes, or new team member assimilation processes. And they typically were 3-4 hours in person. You do a bunch of interviews of the team about what they want the leader to know about them, or vice versa, right? And it's a way of beginning to connect those. Now, you can still do that in a virtual environment. You just need to do it differently. And you need to, not expect that you're going to focus for 3 hours on doing something like that. It's got to be incrementalized, and it's got to be adapted to the specifics of working in a virtual, team environment. And I'll give you an example, right? So I'm coaching a CEO right now of a large healthcare system in the US, so a big hospital system. And he's operating 100% remotely at this point with his new team. And so we wanted to run a process that looked like this for him. And it was really very simple, right? Rather than interview all the team members individually or collectively, right? We just ran a simple survey, right? What do you see as his big challenges, opportunities? What would you be focusing on if you were him? What do you most want to know about, him? What do you want him most to know about you? And people were incredibly open in that survey, right? And so we were able to compile that, give it to him, set up a session that was really only an hour long. But at the end of that, you've got so much more connection, right? And it's, again, looking for the things you can do virtually, right? But also adapting processes like new leader assimilation, which are commonly used in onboarding systems, to the realities of a virtual team sort of environment. I call it virtual micro team building. Really short little things you can do to connect people. And I wrote an article, and I'll send you a link to it, sort of 35 things you can do that are to do virtual micro team building, right? So you can again incrementalize it. You can also cut it down, right? So, it doesn't need to be an hour, but there should be a short structured process for someone introducing themselves, right? You can also say, look, they don't need to know everyone on the team. So let's run a process for them and the 5 other people they really most need to know, because that can accelerate it, right? So I think you just need to be, somewhat flexible in doing this, right? Both in terms of doing it more incrementally, right? Making it a more focused process. I mean, if you think about what it means to bring someone onto a team, right? They are understandably apprehensive. They want to feel like they're being embraced to a degree, right? They want to feel like they're able to connect. And so it doesn't take a huge amount, right? To at least set the tone for that. And that, plus I think having a buddy, a connection point, and is it 100%? No, of course not, right? Is it what we would do? But, what you're describing, I think, is a common challenge with rapidly growing organizations, where you're scaling so fast that you can't afford to kind of, do the standard stuff anymore, right? You've got to innovate a bit around duration, incrementalization, and so on. Does that make sense?